Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for coming on. This is Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. And of course, I'm your host, BMR. I want to thank everybody for coming on in on this Thursday afternoon. Beautiful day here in Michigan, thankfully. Typically, this is where I would say in Studio B, my buddy from Texas, Tex joining the show, but Tex has got some personal issues dealing with. I don't want to get into that with some friends and do me a favor. Prayers out to Tex. I'm not going to speak for Tex. It's not my place. But Tex is okay, but he's going through something. So, but I do have the lovely Robin Haynes. I almost said, well, anyway, it's Robin Haynes joining us today. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, and the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. Thank you. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever social media is found. We're now available on Spreaker podcasts. So for those of you that like the podcast views or editions, go check it out. We've been doing that for about 3 or 4 months. Also, don't forget the Super Chat's open. The Super Chat's a great way to help support what we do around here. And you too, today, can become a BMR pirate. That's right. Become a pirate. Hit that join button. You get a picture of me with a bandana. About 120 strong right now. So thanks for the support. And please, if you're new here, again, subscribe to our channels across the board. Go to our about pages. Talks about our events and our schedules. And speaking about events and schedules, the lineup across the week is Mondays, 8 o'clock in the East to 11, Texas Front Porch. That's on Monday. Tuesday nights, Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East with myself and the lovely Krista from the Blondes and Booze. Wednesdays is Barton Nunley and Inhumanoids. Wednesday with Barton, Letitia, Krista, and Brandy. Then Thursday afternoon, right back here with Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. We kick off at 1 p.m. in the East. Then tonight, a new show on Texas Front Porch. It's Our Paranormal World with the lovely Monica Rollins. Check that out. Then right after that on the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, it's Krista and Brandy. And then Friday, they're also on again at 8 o'clock. But at 8 in the East, they provide a little more woo with the booze. So check that out. Saturday nights, we've been doing a midnight show on BMR's channel, Late Night with BMR and Krista. That's taken off pretty well. So thanks for all you people on the West Coast and across the seas that watch that. And of course, you people in chat as well. And then Sunday, Truth or Tinfoil with Randy and Brandy on the Truth or Tinfoil YouTube channel. Check that out at 6. Then at 7, if you're into true crime, we've got Tex and Miss Diva, the Diva Dimension. They talk a true crime with serial killers. Yeah, that's something that they've been doing for a little while. Pretty cool show if you're into true crime. And I did mention about what we've got going on throughout the week. It's not too long. It's almost here, everybody. And we're all excited about it. June 7th and 8th, we've got the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. That's right, June 7th and 8th. It's at the Anniston Performing Arts Center in Woodstock. It's 1299 Woodstock Avenue in the beautiful Anniston, Alabama. Tickets now on sale, $30 online, $35 at the door. And I've got to tell you, that's cheap. That's cheap for any conference. Tex Weston is our master of ceremonies. Speaker lineup: Barton Nunley, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves. Yours truly, good old BMR. I'm anchoring the show, I think. I don't know where I speak. Probably last, right? I don't know. It's brought to you by Sidekicks. Sidekicks Paranormal, not Side Chicks, as I had been saying some time ago. So thanks for that. Go to BamaBigfootConference.com for details. Also, June 7th, I forgot the name of the restaurant like I always do. It's something Steak Sizzler or something like Sizzler out west, something like that. I don't know. Alabama's not in the West. It's a meet and greet. It's already booked. However, the restaurant, nor will we turn you away. Come check us out. We'll talk the night before the show. Also, one more brief announcement. I want to thank everybody who's bought my book, Bigfoot Michigan Represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. You can find it on Amazon. If Amazon gives you an email, give them a review. Reviews help sales of the book. Book 2, that's already Book 2 is going to be coming out June or July, I do believe. I'm not quite sure on the dates for that. So add that one to your library, if not already. So thank you for that. And with that being said, I'm gonna bring up my wonderful guest, good friend of mine, Miss Robin.
Hey, sweetheart, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
So good to be back on the show. Haven't been here in a year.
You've been here, Beyond BMR, I put that out last year as the second installment to my channel, and you were my featured guest to kick off that inaugural show. Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked.
we have fun.
We had a lot of fun. We talked about my encounter, and actually, we reflected back on when you were on the brunch show, and you told me some really things that were mind blowing. Right on air, I almost fell out of my seat. We'll talk a little about that and some other things going on. I want to thank everybody that came in to chat. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Tex will probably be back next week with me. So prayers to Tex and his friends, what's going on with my buddy, good old Tex. So, Robin, yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
And again,
thank
it's been
you.
about a year. And there might be some people that don't know much about you, Robin. So, I like to
There's
do
probably a lot
typically,
of people that don't know much about me.
especially the name, because Tex goes, we're having Robin Haynes on. I go, yeah. He goes, man, I want to get into this Mindspeak business, as you know. It's just, people that know Tex, he's on both sides of the fence with that. And I said, well, it's Robin Haynes, formerly Robin Haynes McCrae. He goes, oh, Robin. So yeah, so I'm gonna book Robin on Texas show here next couple weeks or a month or
Yeah.
so, because he really he wasn't up to it today, and I get that. So Robin, again, if you briefly want to just give us a little introduction about yourself, and we'll get on with this.
Okay. Yeah, my name got changed. I got divorced, you guys. So I'm no longer McCrae. I'm back to Haynes. Very happy about it. People, when I got divorced, were writing me and going, "Oh, I'm so sorry, and are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, this was my idea. I'm very happy, very blessed. So, no reason to feel bad." But I am back to Haynes instead of McCrae, so that's a good thing. And not everybody knows me. I started out as a very small child interacting with the Sasquatch and the Dogman. Always been in the paranormal field. First abduction I remember by the ETs, I was 4, and they told me then I had it before then. Continued out my whole life, still today. I worked on the genome projects, both of them. Been to Russia for Igor Borsev's conference in Siberia. I don't do a ton of conferences, but I mean, I do them. I have one in Nebraska. We have the 26th and 27th. I'm helping to run it, and I'll be there, as well as Blaine Tyler, Duke Sullivan, Christian McLeod, Jim Myers, Dave Scott. We've got a great lineup. We really, really do. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but we do. We have a great lineup. It's a 2-day event. And then I'll be doing the Alien UFO Conference in Spruce Pine on June 8th and be talking about that. I don't do a lot of alien conferences. I did one other one, and so I was asked to do it this year. I'll be doing it with Christian McLeod, who's going to be there. He's going to be talking about Betty and Barney Hill. And so excited about doing that. And in the middle of all this, I'm making the big move out of South Carolina. Originally born and raised in Michigan with all the cryptids, and I moved to South Carolina, and I am headed out of it. I can't do South Carolina anymore. So in the middle of all of the craziness, I'm planning a big move at the same time.
Yeah, I heard the news of the move to East Texas, and
Yes.
I was waiting for your move, Robin, to
I know.
Michigan.
I
So when
was
you gave me
planning
the
on
news,
Michigan.
yeah, I know you were, 'cause, even though it's been a year since you've been on the show, we do keep in contact, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
looking so forward to coming and visiting you.
Well, I have kids, grandkids, and my mom and my sister and my nieces and nephews there. So I still go back to Michigan. I had planned on coming back this summer, but summer really got away from me this year. Like it just exploded. And normally if I can get through like March and April for a couple of conferences, then I'm good. And it's kind of expanded through the course of the summer. So I don't know if I'm going to make it back to Michigan this year or not. I want to because I've got my family's there. You know, I'm a Michigan girl. I was born and raised in Michigan. But I like in the last 2 weeks, I've traveled over 2,500 miles,
That's
driven
quite
it.
a bit.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot.
that's a lot of
And
ground cover.
it's a lot of ground to cover. And, you know, I'm going and going and going. So, and I don't even know why. All of a sudden, it's just been really busy. I'm not anything special. It's just right now the way things are. So it's been crazy. A lot of activity. In fact, we were talking backstage before
Yeah.
the show started recording. People are probably noticing a lot more contact right now. Like things are popping, everybody, big time. When we did these energy shifts, and I've talked about them on you know, Duke Sullivan's World Bigfoot Radio, as well as on Roger's show. You know, Roger Williams' show, Squatch and Holler. I talked about it. Several other ones that I've been on, we've discussed it. And the first wave was the 14th of March. With that wave that came in, it was made to raise the frequency and raise the energy for everybody, as well as the spiritual battle began. And it was, you know, against a lot of dark things, namely the AI. And then it had the second wave hit April 8th and then again on April 14th. And so there's been a lot of activity with that. What it's done is it's raising people's consciousness. It's trying to raise people's frequency. Okay, the Sasquatch and the other cryptids are all high frequency beings. Okay, they are a type of people, not our people, but they are a type of people, but they are high frequency, high energy. So as this frequency is going up and ours is going up, they're getting more active. They're getting more comfortable showing themselves. They're getting more comfortable speaking. And it literally has been busy, to say the very least. You know, there's very few nights I don't get woken up out of a sound sleep. You know, or it's like yesterday, I was driving back. I had some things I had to take care of. And I was about 2 or 3 hours away. And I'm coming back. And all of a sudden, they play with my GPS. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. They did this during the shift. I was in Georgia. And I got trapped in the mountains. They wouldn't let me out of the mountains. They kept playing with my GPS. So I pulled over and I'm like, okay, what is it you want?
So were
And
they
they're like,
playing? Were they playing with the GPS, giving you the wrong way to get out of
oh,
there?
absolutely. I couldn't get out. I was trapped in the freaking mountains. And you know, I'm really good on a GPS. I don't have problems getting where I want to go. Like all this traveling that I just got done doing the last 2.5 weeks, I traveled alone. You know, it's not like I can't do this. But I keep 2 GPS. This isn't my first rodeo with them. I
Right.
keep 2
Well, no,
GPSs
it's
on
not.
at all time. So I have 2 GPSs going, and I wasn't even supposed to be in the mountains. And then I'm in the mountains and I'm trying to get out and I'm driving and I'm driving and I'm driving. And I'm like, this is just ridiculous. I checked the GPSs and they've got me going all over the place. They've got addresses in there. They kept switching the addresses on there. And I'm like, I'm not doing this with you. So I'm mind speaking with them. And it was some that were not overly good. And they're like, they didn't want me to do some work that I had planned on doing. And so I pulled off to one of these little areas that you can park off to the side. And I parked the car and I said, listen, I'm doing it anyway. No, we won't allow you. I said, you can try. I'm still going to do what I'm supposed to do, you know? And I'm thinking, okay, you just keep talking. So I'm letting them talk. And the whole time I'm letting them talk, I'm changing and coming up with bogus addresses to put in the GPS. But before I did, I screen captured the written directions on where I was supposed to be. So I had it on a screen capture. I thought, you want to play? Let's play. This is not my first rodeo. I've done this many times. So then I switched the GPS after I had it in screen captured and directions. I went ahead and changed and made up bogus addresses on both 2 different GPSs. So they didn't match. And so then I started driving and they're like, you're not leaving. And I said, I'm totally leaving. You know, then the good ones pop in. Of course, they give you the love bubble and they're like, don't worry, we're going to help you get out of here. I'm like, I don't need help now. I got this I got the written directions screen captured. So I had no problem getting where I wanted to go. But it was a riot. I thought, you want to play games? Let's play games. And then they tried to do the same thing yesterday. And all they wanted me to do yesterday was just come out in the woods. And I get that a lot. I'll be driving down the road. They want me to stop and just walk out randomly in the woods.
Yeah, you know, and you've mentioned it twice already. It's not your first rodeo. And going back a little deeper before we get fully on with the show, This all started out with you though,
Yeah.
as a young girl, did it not?
Oh, I was literally, my mom talks about as soon as I got big enough to talking about my friends. They were taller than my dad, all covered in hair. One had a tail, one did not. And she said that was some of the first things I ever talked about. I can remember, and this is how crazy it is. Like most people, and I didn't until probably 25 years ago start remembering. As a child, before talking, I was getting mind speak. Like I've never not gotten mind speak. It was a shock to me that not everybody did. I mean, I
And
thought everybody saw Sasquatch and everybody got mind speak.
and really briefly too, just another thing, just for people that maybe are unfamiliar with Mindspeak, or telepathy, perhaps you could. Thank you, Audacious Amber, for that awesome super chat. Great way to get the show started. If you kind of want to give a brief definition, I should say, on Mindspeak for
Sure,
those that perhaps
sure.
are a little out in left field, don't know.
Yeah, people think that mind speak is just getting the telepathy, which would be like words in your or hearing a voice in your head. And I really want to be clear on something because I teach classes in it. That's not true. It doesn't have to be this booming voice like God's talking in your mind. It can be, and at times it is. But it can come in so many ways. And I think everybody is telepathic. We've always had the ability to do it, but the powers that be have made us believe that we can't. And so we don't acknowledge it and it blocks us. But I think it's important to remember that it comes in other forms too. It can be an image in your mind. It can play like a video in your mind. It could be a sense of knowing, a feeling that you get, an emotion that you get. You go outside or you're sitting there and all of a sudden you feel like you're going to cry and you don't know why. Or all of a sudden you're happy and laughing and you don't know why. That's all part of mind speak. It's the word and the terms for telepathy and mind speak are so misleading because it encompasses this huge array of ways to get it. For anybody that's at home and has a partner or a spouse, how many times do you say something and they're like, I was just going to tell you that? Well, yeah, you knew it because you got it through mind speak because the mind connected to your mind before the verbal words came out. It's like your body reads energy. So your body's going to read that energy and know things before it goes to your brain. Well, before your brain's going to get mind speak before it's going to connect to your mouth to hear it. I mean, it's just the whole process. And so it's very limiting when you think that it's just words in your mind. So I caution everybody, there's so many ways to get it. There really is. And everybody gets it differently. You can get all the different ways. You can get a few of it, but that doesn't mean you can't get it.
Yeah, and really quickly, Roger at Squatch and Holler. Thanks, Roger, for coming on in. I believe you're
Love
newer.
Roger.
Hey, Roger. He asks really quick, like intuition. I got to ask you, like everybody, I think most people, like me, Robin, I could be standing in line at a mobile gas station, or I could be shopping at a mall. And like most of us in America, I would imagine, you get that sense. And I know this is a little bit different, but kind of the beginning of it, we all get that sense that you're being watched or looked at by a person, maybe in line, or maybe
Yeah,
somebody across an aisle. And that's an intuition where you look around and sure enough, you make that
there is.
awkward eye contact where the person was looking at you. But in our minds, and I know this has happened again to many people, that, yeah, we were accurate. Is that kind of, because I believe we all have the abilities as well, right, Robin?
Absolutely. What that is, and I'm going to explain that to you, when you are somewhere and you feel like somebody's watching you and you're in the same physical place, that actually isn't mind speak. That's your body reading energy. Our bodies
Mm.
can read energy before it ever connects to our brain, and energy signatures never lie. They never lie. And so your body reacts to the energy. So if you're standing like in line at the gas station or whatever, and you feel somebody's watching you and you turn around and somebody actually is, it's because your body picked up on the energy from the other person that was watching you. It's just like, and this has happened to everybody. I would almost guarantee it. We've always, at some point in time, you meet somebody in your life that for whatever reason, you've never done a thing to this person, but that person is mean to you. They don't like you. They want nothing to do with you. They'd rather squash you like a bug, and you've not done a thing to them. They just generally don't like you, and you're left wondering why. Like, I've done nothing to them. And then in that same flip, you have people that are just drawn to you automatically and absolutely adore you, and you don't even know why. Like, you don't know that person. That again goes back to the energies. Okay, when you have a positive person that's pure of heart and is a person of light and energy, And then you have somebody that has darkness in their heart or has the gray energy around them. They repel. They want to squish out the good energy. And so that's why those people will be mean to you, and you have no idea why. It's because you're pure energy, you're pure of heart. So that negative energy, it's repulsive to have them together. The negative energy wants to squish you and get rid of the positive. Where, you know, if you have two positive people together, you're like magnets, and you feel like you're best friends that have known each other forever.
Right.
It's all reading those energies.
You know, we're going to get into more of your experiences with Sasquatch, the Mindspeak, the telepathy. We might even brush over something you told me last year about my encounter. But people have suggested to me that some people might have heard this, and I'm not going to get in depth with it, that I might have certain abilities, right? And I always reflect on this story, especially after talking with you. Uh, Again, I think I have an innate sense. I can sum up a person. I owned a bar for 13 years, and I never really had to read their resume or their application when they came in. All I needed to do was interview them, and I knew whether or not the person had nefarious intentions, if they wanted to rip me off, or they were going to be a crappy employee. I just knew, and 9 times out of 10, when I hired someone without reading their resume or their application, I was always correct. But those where I just went ahead and looked at their fabulous resume, they end up being crappy, right? So it's been suggested that I have some sort of I can read on these
You're an
energies.
intuitive.
Well, here's
You
the
can read.
thing too. Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to tell you this quick, brief story, which I've told many times. In fact, I see Krista's in the show, and she knows what I'm going to say. Long time ago, I was 5 years old, ran into this kid. I thought he was on my block, and I sensed the kid was evil. Now, mind you, I'm 5. One 5-year-old tells her mom and dad Jimmy is evil. They were like, Rob, where are you getting this from? I just had this negative energy with this kid. So throughout my entire schooling life, grade school, mid school, up to all the way through high school, I told all my friends to stay away from Jimmy, because every time I interacted with this kid, I had a sense of evil or dread overtook me. One day we're playing soccer in gym class, and I'm rolling on the ground with Jimmy. We got entangled playing soccer, and I touched his body, and I immediately pushed my way away. I pushed away from Jimmy because Jimmy gave me a creepy vibe, a creepy energy, and I felt this guy was the devil. I did, and I'm 18 years old, my last year of high school. And I ran away looking like a little baby, a little girly running away. Rob, you're scared of Jimmy. He's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've been telling my friends in my entire life, my close friends, about this kid. I went off to college. Okay. I came back home, graduated, blah, blah, blah. My mom and dad said, man, you remember that kid, Jimmy? He always told your friends and us, and my friends interjected as well, how you thought he was just a bad person. I go, well, yeah. She goes, well, here's the latest news on Jimmy. Jimmy, while I was off to college, murdered his grandmother and is now in the state penitentiary. And I
My
knew
God.
about this kid Robin at 5 that I picked this kid out. He was evil. So what was I experiencing with that kid?
Well, number one, you're an intuitive. You always have been. The problem that you've had is you're not tapped into it. Okay.
Mhm.
With these energy shifts, people with the abilities are going to pop up. And so people can act more confused, a little bit more off balance, a little bit, because they aren't learning how to use the abilities that they have. You're an intuitive. Your body is automatically reading energies, even though your brain doesn't know how to do it right now and it doesn't understand it. Your body's reading it. When Jimmy came along, you picked up the evil in him because you have pure soul. You have what the Sasquatch call pure of heart. And you're you're of light, which is all positive, really good things. But just like I said a little while ago, when you take somebody that's positive and you put them in the presence of a negative energy, it's like the magnets that push each other away. The only thing is that, those negative entities and negative energies want to put out the light. They want to put out the good stuff. But in your case with him, you saw right through it if you're intuitive.
Mm.
On top of the fact you're reading energy. You've been reading energy long before you even knew that type of thing could happen. You just don't understand it, and you just don't know it. So that's when and it doesn't have to be me that you work with. It can be anybody. Okay. It's not a business plug. It's just a fact. Work with somebody that you trust, that can tap you into these abilities that you have, because that's all part of your process. That's all part of your path. Okay. I see this every day. This is what I do. And, it doesn't have to be me. It can be anybody. It has to be somebody that you trust and you're comfortable with. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But you need to work with somebody to bring those out to the forefront, because you can only not be who you truly are for so long. Okay. And with this energy shift comes the changes and the abilities. But that's what you were doing even as a small child.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's just hard to it's hard to grasp. It's hard to wrap your hands around it.
You get used to it over time, let me tell you.
And I'm sure that, I do want to tap in this further. If I have certain abilities, or as people say, and other people have told me that, you're the person that I'm definitely going to work with, which we'll get together on that, because I kind of want to explore that a little more, because I just find this entire subject just so fascinating.
That's why I opened the website. I was getting divorced and obviously needed to work to take care of myself and all my fur babies, because I have a lot of animals. And I just couldn't really do a lot. And I've always worked. Anybody that knows me knows I've worked with people. I have my whole life for over 40 years. And I couldn't hold a job down and make money at the same time I was helping everybody. I couldn't get to everybody that needed my help. I work with people all over the world. I don't just, have like local states or whatever.
Right.
And so when I left that job, one of the people that I worked with builds websites, and she said, "You've got to do this for a living," because she said that's the only way you're going to be happy. I was miserable not working with people. I mean, it feeds my soul, because I generally love people and I care. And so she built me my website. She's a professional website designer. So she built the website and said, "You're going to do this." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, I've never charged people to do anything, and I'm not comfortable with this. It really bothers me." But it was the only way I could do it and keep the lights on. So I turned it into a business, and it's doing well. It seems to be very well received. My clients like it. But like I said, this isn't a business plug. This is just a fact. It doesn't have to be me. I don't care who it is. But if you have got abilities and they're just sitting there, you can't be stagnant forever. And you end up feeling like a round peg in a square hole. And that never works, especially as we go into this higher frequency.
Yeah, and I understand it's not a business plug, because I think you are the real deal. And a little later in the show, when you were on another show that we had, you just blew my mind during a show, which I know a lot of people haven't heard, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But everybody listening, Robin is the real deal. And I do trust Robin with everything you have to say, because a lot of things you told me,
You're
a
so
lot of
sweet.
things, well, sweet, yes. I mean, but it's fact, though. I don't talk on facts. Nothing's factual. All I can say is this: what you told me, no one should have known except me, which we'll talk about just a little bit later. I want to get, though, into like some of your first contacts, when you actually, if you wanted to, talk about some of your episodes that you've had, because I know you've had a lot of these in Michigan and in the Carolinas. What were some that really blew your mind, where you actually had these ongoing communications, which you do have ongoing on a daily basis?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty consistent. Always has been since I was little. I mean, I can remember I had a girl I went to school with, and I loved her dearly. She's just the sweetest person. And I had forgotten that when we were kids, I took her out in the woods and showed her a Sasquatch. And she brought that up to me one day. I saw her in one of the Bigfoot groups. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should say anything or not," because I kept all this hidden from my schoolmates. I kept it hidden from everybody until 2010. I did it by myself. I didn't, have a lot of people that I told. There was a couple of people, but not a lot. And I saw her in one of these groups, and we were chatting, and she's like, "I remember when she was like 13 or 14. She said, we were out in the woods and you showed one to me."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that." But it's always been just part of who I am. Like, it was normal for me, even when I was 4 and 5 years old, to look out my window and see one in the yard or see a face in the window. Or I always lived in the country. We were like borderline country and city. And I would head to the woods. Like, I had this obsession with the woods. But how many 4-year-olds do you know that want to get? And back then it was safe to let your kids out. It's not safe now, but back then it was.
Yeah.
And I'd go out. I'd look for stick structures. How many 4 and 5-year-olds know about stick structures? Like, that's crazy. Patterson Gimlin wasn't even released yet. And I mean,
Yeah.
that was just my whole life. But they would do things with me. They've saved my life 6 times. I mean, literally, they're there. Have I dealt with bad ones? 100%. Oh yeah, there are some bad ones, but primarily they're good. And the thing that people, when they listen to me speak, and I'm still, I have to put this out there, I'm always shocked that anybody cares anything about what I have to say or even listens to me. So, for anybody that does watch the shows I'm on, thank you so much. You mean the world to me. It just shocks me every time that people even pay attention to me. But the thing of it is these are a type of people. They really and truly are. And I will be the first one to stand up and say, when I was a little kid, I was such an animal lover. I just thought they were an animal that lived in the woods. I did. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But when you interact with them and you hear them talk to you verbally as well as within your mind, and you watch their behaviors and they teach you about their culture and their way of life and how they do things, why they do things, what their belief system is, their spirituality. Okay, they believe they're one of God's children. The good ones do. And when you grow up and have a lifetime with them in the teachings, everything is a teaching. Oh my gosh, everything. You don't get summer vacations. Everything is being taught 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year round, no time off for good behavior. And as you go through all this, you realize this. It's like that light bulb comes on. They are not Nephilim. People, get away from the Nephilim idea. I think we look for something that's easy to say that's just it. Are the bad ones Nephilim? I'm not going to say the bad ones aren't, because the bad ones are just horrible and they're lethal. Are the good ones Nephilim? Absolutely not. They're just not. They're not, what everybody thinks. And they're not monsters. They're the most kind, loving things out there.
And don't you think too? I don't associate Bigfoot or Sasquatch, if you will, with the Nephilim. Duke's out in chat, and I was talking with Duke. We talk ad nauseum about like the Nephilim, the differences with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and even so, even people are on that kick of the Nephilim. That bloodline has got to be so diluted, and if these in fact are ancient people, the bloodline has got to be so diluted they can't possibly be even associated with it. Is that
there's a lot
incorrect?
of, I think so. I think, there's a lot of people that believe the bad ones are Nephilim. Number one, excuse me, to be clear, we don't have Nephilim DNA to test it. Let's
Right.
be realistic. We don't.
Yeah.
So it's all speculation. What we do know is the mitochondrial side, meaning the mom, is human. Okay, it actually is. And before I ever started on the Sasquatch Genome Project with Dr. Melba Ketchum, I had already asked him what they were. It wasn't a big surprise. Okay, I had learned it a long time ago. I simply asked them. Everybody was on Facebook and fighting like cats and dogs, which is, I'm sorry, ridiculous. So for anybody that, wants to, I don't get a lot of the trolls and the haters, but I do get some. People will notice I'm not going to sit there and fight with them.
Right.
I'm not going to waste my energy, my time, my space, my heart.
It's a waste of time. Go tune somewhere else.
They want 15 minutes of fame. And if that's what they want, they are more than happy to have it. I don't need it. And I'm not going to contribute to it. So I just don't. I try to be kind as much as I can. I'm not perfect by a long shot, but I do try. But they are a human hybrid. And when I asked them what they were, I said, everybody's fighting over you guys. Like, I'm out here interacting every night with you, sitting out in the woods with you, talking with you, interacting. What are you? Like, you're going to know more than anybody would. And they pointed to me and they said, we're human like you. And then they said, they pointed to the sky and said, star people. Now, when you tell them they're star people, they get very offended. Okay. If you ask them what they are on that father's side, they say, we're children of God. That's what they will tell you, the good ones will. And that's the other thing. There's so much spirituality with them. They far surpass any spirituality that we have. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Again, because if you, I've been doing this for a while now. And I've spoken with people that First Nations people, both sides of the coin too. With this that I'm about to bring up, is some people, and particularly with First Nations, say that the Sasquatch appears to them in spirit form, not a flesh and blood entity. But I'll have some also say it appears to them in a physical form. Now, if we're talking about ancient people, I kind of get a correlation between kind of a mix of both. I mean, where you talk about hearing about Sasquatch appearing, yet they're transparent and they're communicating. Or you'll have one that's as solid as you and I metaphysically, and they still can communicate with you.
But
It's always so confusing. I know there's got to be a difference there, or is one
yeah,
of those
it's
statements
very
totally
basic.
fallacy? Right.
Okay, here's the rundown on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
And again, I learned it from them. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just the way it works. These are a multidimensional being to begin with.
Okay.
Okay. They're high frequency, high energy. They can be in physical form 1 minute, spirit form the next. They do this by raising the frequency, which is also vibration, and their energy. And then they can do what they call cloaking, which is completely blank, you can't see anything, and they can do a shimmer. The shimmer looks like that predator effect that we hear people talk
Yeah.
about every now and then, or you can do you can see like an outline of them. They do this, and this is, for people that really don't believe in it, I kind of use this as an example. When they raise that vibration is how they do it. They bend the light around themselves. Anything they touch, they can cloak at the same time. But I want people to think about this. Think of a hummingbird. When you see a hummingbird at a hummingbird feeder, you see the body, you never see the wings. Don't see the wings because it vibrates so quickly that our three-dimensional eyes cannot pick up the wings. It's the same exact thing. Now, as we go and transcend and our frequency becomes higher, like if you look outside your window right now at the world that's out there, I guarantee you're not seeing everything. You're just not. That's not what you're looking out there is a fallacy. It doesn't exist. It's what our eyes are seeing in the third dimension. As you raise your frequency and your frequency goes up, your eyes change, and then you start seeing more things. Then you start seeing the cryptids, and you start seeing more reality. It's a frequency thing. As your frequency is up, you see more. Okay, this world is made of multiple planes, hundreds and thousands of planes. It's also a matrix. It just is. It's
I was
hard to deal
about to
with, but
say
it's true.
I was about to say kind of reminds me of the Matrix. I don't think we live inside a computer, right?
No, absolutely not. No,
But I
no.
believe that when we look out our window, we see what we see, but we're missing a lot that's
Oh,
present
we're missing
to
so
us.
much. And the higher your frequency is, the more you see. It's like you see everybody that says, well, that picture is pareidolia. And in some cases, it is. Absolutely. Okay. Sometimes we want to see things so badly that we can manifest it in our own mind, which
Uh-huh.
manifestation transfers out into the physical world. And so we end up, it is pareidolia. But for every time there's a pareidolia, there's also one that people are seeing things in there because they have a higher frequency than the other person that's looking at the photo. If you're at a lower frequency, your eyes are going to see at a lower frequency and you're not going to see things and you're going to miss things. When you're at a higher frequency, you see more. It's just the way it works. It really and truly is.
So you probably squashed the theory. You mentioned that they feel offended when certain people call them star people. But so, in your opinion, in your research and your experiences, we can for today's show anyway, we can pretty much eliminate in your thoughts that Bigfoot is not an alien. They didn't come from
No,
Zeta, the
no,
Zeta dimension.
no, not at all. What I want people to understand and take away from what I said is if you look in the Bible, it says God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. What's in the heavens? Not the heavens, but the universe. God created that universe. Are there aliens out there? There absolutely is. So when they become offended when you say they're part star people, they are under the belief system and they know what they are, that they are children of God on the Father's side. Okay. God created the universe and he created everything in it. So it all actually comes about in the same manner.
Mhm.
I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
I
Am I
do.
saying they're not like 100% ET? Of course not. But God, what they believe in, which is Creator, which is God, they're excessively spiritual. And when you talk to them, when you listen to them, and you hear the words that they say, anybody that is dealing with any of them that are good, there's no way you can't understand the spirituality that they have. But they're talking about how, on that father's side, they're children of God. Well, they are, but God created all of us, and he created the heavens and the earth, and he created the universe. So it's all encompassed anyway. It's all the same thing. And that's where the side that the paranormal abilities come from. The mother's side is human. You know, these are a type of our relatives here. They may be farther down the chain, but I'll tell you what, they are far superior. I don't care what anybody says. They are more superior than we will ever hope to be. We may have things that we excel in different ways. Like we have a lot of alien technology. We really and truly do. Let's be realistic. We didn't come from beating each other over with a club in the caves to having computer systems. That didn't come from us. We got given that because of what's going on in the partnership that our government has with the ETs. But where the Sasquatch may not have that. But they are smart in ways that we can't even compare. And as far as loving, hating, anger, whatever, because they're higher frequency, all of their emotions are heightened. And I don't think people think about that. They are a much higher frequency and energy, which means all emotions are much higher. And in being much higher, that means they love deeper. The love that you get from them, you can't even, I mean, there's a lot of our viewers, I'm sure that get that. Chrissy, Sci-Fi for one, her and I are very close. She's like a sister to me, and she gets it. She's as legit as they come. And her and I will forever have each other's back. And she experiences this too. When they give you what I call the love bubble, which is they project emotions and they can project their emotions on you. That love bubble, I don't know anybody that can get it and at not some point in time cry, because it's that pure, it's that deep, and it's that strong. But in having that with the love comes the hate. And when you have these aggressive ones or the bad ones, because they're not all good, they're literally lethal because everything is at a higher level. They hate harder and stronger. That, you know, they are angry at a much higher level than we are. So, you know, it's kind of like the yin yang theory. With the good comes the bad. But for the most part, these are a kind, loving people. They want to educate us. They want to help us. We're the problem areas.
You know, when it comes to, well, you know my story, and I certainly, since 2018, my encounter, I've eliminated that my encounter was a demon, and we're not going to get
No,
at
it
that
wasn't.
just. We're not going to get at that just at this time. But really quickly, too, I want to add, what do you say to? I'm not a guy that believes a lot of coincidence, but there's, as you well know, Robin, there's many people that I've spoken with that I've just heard about or seen on other shows. We've all heard about a Sasquatch appearing, but prior to a Sasquatch appearing, there's perhaps an orb, or perhaps there's a UFO sighting, or something else goes on that's kind of somewhat alien in nature, and then a Bigfoot. So a lot of people are stuck on this theory that they came from a craft, or perhaps they came from another dimension via an orb, or maybe they were abducted like humans get abducted by aliens, right? I know you're familiar with that, Robin. And
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
perhaps they were transported back to the planet from a ship. I'm doing a
Okay,
show on this just really quickly because I'm going to discuss this next week with my buddy Chris, Akashi Chris from Mindforks. That'll be next week. But I
well,
want your thoughts on that.
okay, first of all, there's people, and I've talked to witnesses that have seen them on ships. Okay.
Okay.
And so, and I do astral projection and a lot of weird, crazy things, but I've seen them in places that you wouldn't think they would be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's different kinds. I mean, this whole, you know, you get these people that are like, there's subspecies this or subspecies this or variant this or variant that. I'm sorry. I respect everybody for their belief systems. It's not any different than we have American, Japanese, Chinese. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mexican. All it is different kinds of people from different cultures. But have they been on the ships? Yes, they actually have. There's a lot. I've watched them going up on a ship. Like I've seen the ship down and I've seen them going up there. Do all of them do that? Absolutely 100% not. It depends on which ones you're talking about. It depends on the background and the culture of those particular ones. As far as the orbs are energy beings. Okay? Sasquatch is an energy being. You know, they do. And we have witnesses that have actually seen them inside little orbs. I've watched Sasquatch create orbs by using their hands and the energy and the frequency and creating them. But orbs are their own being as well, just like the rods. You see those rods that go flying across the camera screens all the time. But you're also dealing with things in a paranormal spectrum, and I think that's important to remember it. In that paranormal spectrum is everything that's high frequency, and they all glob together. They feed off the high energy, they feed off the high frequency. And they are all going to be palling around together.
Do you think that all cryptids are based on energy?
100%. 100%. Without the energy and the frequency, they cease to exist. Now, I want to point out too, though, that there are some that are old school. And when I say old school, I tell people to relate it to the Amish. And this is no disrespect to anything Amish or anybody, please. But Amish, depending on their sector, is whether or not they use electricity or modern conveniences of any kind. Some of them are simply almost like they live off grid. Okay. The same thing is with the Sasquatch. We have some sectors that do not use paranormal abilities. They stay in flesh and blood at all time. Their life expectancy is not as long because as they're using the portals with the higher frequency and the higher energy, that does give them an edge on the lifespan, which can be, 200 to 400 years, depending what they ascend to in the clan. It can be 800 years or more. So they have a very long life expectancy. An average, and I'm saying an average, is 200 to 400. But then, like I said, as they ascend and into various parts of the clan, then they can have a much longer lifespan. But when they stay in the physical and they don't do these other things and they're not using the abilities and they're not going through the portals, they tend to have more of a lifespan of one of our humans. So then you see where they are living, under 100 years old or 60 to 80 or whatever. And so that makes a difference.
Also had go ahead.
No, go ahead. But they do. They've been on ships. I spoke with someone that works for the Galactic Federation, and she talks about, having one up there. People have seen them on ships. It would be, I'd be remiss to say that they don't do that. Is that the norm? No, it's not. It really isn't.
Well, you bring up the Galactic Federation. Have you spoken with beings from other planets then, outside of the Sasquatch then?
Absolutely. I've been talking with other beings my whole life. I have to revert to the same thing, and I know it sounds stupid, but I had no idea that not everybody did.
Okay.
The world that I grew up in is not normal. It was not like everybody else's. My best friends as a toddler that were the Sasquatch and the Dogman. And I don't have this hatred for the Dogman that everybody does. I work with a couple different Dogman clans that are very wonderful and very peaceful and very beautiful. I had one help me out and protect me the other day. Are there some that are bad? Yeah, government created some to kill. And again, like everything else, there's good and bad. Yeah. So, I'm just saying that they are pretty much guardians of the forest.
Now you're talking about dogmen?
Yeah. Yeah. And so are there some that were created by the government to kill people? Yeah, they were. They were used for weapons.
So when we hear about these dogmen, because I got to tell you, 90% of the people I talk to or stories I get or whatever, people that are on the show view Dogman as mostly evil, nefarious intentions.
Correct.
Now, Bigfoot is more, most of the Bigfoot encounters or people that come on, it's certainly not at all, for the most part, not nefarious in a sense. There's maybe one and few in between. But with the Dogman, it always seems like there's something going on. We've heard about stories about the LBL and this and that. But I am an advocate that the government does create dogmen, and these things that are dogmen that are in the forest, national parks, that are creating death or evil, that is something that we made.
Yeah. Yeah. And are there some that are bad? Again, absolutely. I don't want anybody to ever take away from any show that I do that everything is all good or all bad, because that's not the way it works. The cosmic balance, the universal balance, is there's good and bad in everything, including our people. And I'll be honest with you, our people are the worst. Put me out in the woods with 100 Sasquatch and 100 Dogmen, and I am much more comfortable and much safer than I am ever with 100 of our people. Okay, our people, and this is just an example, our people have tried to kidnap me, lock me in a cage so that they could bag a Bigfoot. Our people have threatened to bash my head in with the lead pipe so that when my brains ooze out on the ground, and those are their words, not mine, The Bigfoots will come in to protect me and they can bag one. Okay. I have been sexually abused. I have been physically abused. I have been mentally abused my whole life. That was all done by our people, not by the cryptids. Okay. And so my point is, I would rather play with the cryptids than I would ever want to play with our humans. And I will say this, I have met some of the best people in my life due to the cryptid field. These people may not be my blood, but they are my family, and I will protect them with every fiber of my being. But again, I was brought to them, and they were brought into my life from the cryptids. You know, have I gone up against bad cryptids? Oh yeah, definitely. Totally, not the greatest thing in the world, but I still feel safer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think just like if you're talking Sasquatch, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, even Dogman, I guess to an extent, just like the world that we live in, there's good human beings and there's good and bad cryptids out there. I do subscribe to that theory because as you know, Robin, though, 5 years ago, I did not have that thought process until I've
I
been doing
know.
this for a while and talking with you. And before we get on with the show, we're at the 52-minute mark, and I got to do a quick little plug because we're also do a podcast. So for everybody,
I
if
have a
you're new
message
coming
for
up,
you too.
pardon me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but he won't get out of my head. I have a message for you.
Yes,
What's his name? I can't remember. Delanca I can't remember
Delano
what.
or Delano, you
Delano.
told
Okay,
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He wants you to know that his mate passed away.
Oh, okay. Well, we can.
I don't know why he wants you to know, but he
Yeah,
wants you to know his mate passed
probably
away
maybe
and
because
he's by
my mate,
himself.
passed away during that encounter. We'll talk a little bit about that, but really briefly for the podcast side, have to do an edit. I'm not going anywhere, so I have to do a little spiel just for everybody that's new here. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Mission Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. Don't forget the super chats available. Great, would help support what we do around here. Become a BMR pirate today. Join up. You can join up, hit the join button, 120 strong. Thank you for that. The Alabama Bigfoot Conference, June 7th and 8th in Anniston, Alabama. My book available on Amazon. That covers about the 15 seconds that I needed, Robin. And yeah, for people that haven't heard my story, you came on. It wasn't on one of the shows during our show, Robin, on the brunch. I think it was the brunch show. We talked about my encounter. And during our show, everybody listening, and I can attest that
I
this
thought
is
it was on
fact.
Duke's show. I thought it was on Duke
Now,
Sullivan's
you did
show.
it live with me at one point, and it might have happened on Duke's show as well, but live with me, if you remember, you had told me that
Yeah.
Delano came to you, and people, it's on it was a brunch show because I almost fell out of my seat where you had said that during the show, the Sasquatch I encountered came to you during the show and communicated to you that he meant no harm. If you remember that.
Yeah.
And I do
Yeah, I
have that
remember bits and pieces. It's been a while, but yeah, I
well, it's
remember
been
some of
over
it.
a year, but I gotta tell everybody, and I had barely known Robin. I knew about Robin through Duke, and so that's one of the reasons I wanted Robin on the show. So I gotta tell everybody, I'm not getting into my encounter story because I was thinking, boy, this Robin, everyone's heard my story, so she very easily, and I'm just saying this to be an objective, right? Could have, just said things she heard about me. Well, you had said you never heard about me or heard my encounter, and as I was
No,
telling it to you, but I will tell everybody this about that. So was I thinking a little skeptical? I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little bit, but you mentioned something during that show live that just it baked my noodle. It baked my noodle. I don't know what movie that's from. I remember that's from a
I
new.
almost
That's
felt really
from The
bad
Matrix.
after because you were like in such shock. And I was
I
like, oh
was
my
in
gosh,
shock.
I shouldn't have said anything.
But here's what put me in shock. I've told my story ad nauseum, if not 1,000 times, not at all. Right? I never, ever, and I tell the story the same each and every time, but I never ever mention the structure on this property in the woods off of the shoreline of Lake Mitchell. There was a red barn. Now, the red barn, everybody listening, I never mentioned in my life No one knows about it except me, because frankly, when I tell the story, the red barn is insignificant to the story. Now, with that being said, Robin, during the show live, you had mentioned that Delano, which he named himself or said that was his name, when he appeared from the shoreline, he traversed from the red barn down to
Yeah.
the shoreline. Now, the red barn, again, I never have mentioned at all in my life. When you told me that, I was like, this woman is the real deal, and forever became a fan of Fast Friends because that was a fact. That happened. So yeah, and then I think the whole show, I was like, I
Yeah,
think I might have
we kept
lost. I
getting
think you did, you know.
we kept
So
getting a lot of information, and you're like, I never told anybody that. I never told anybody that. And I said, he's telling me that. Like, it wasn't coming. I'm just the messenger, I mean,
yeah,
it's just
you
like
know.
he started on me about, I don't know, an hour or two before the show. And he wanted me to tell you his mate passed away. Something about 2 years ago, she passed away, but he hasn't been
Okay.
able to tell you. And I said, okay. And then I forgot all about it. And then we're on the show, and he's like in my head, like pecking at my head, going, tell him, tell him. And I'm like, what do you want him to do with this information? She's already gone. But he
Yeah,
wants you to know that.
I think the message that trying to convey is, since my girlfriend at the time, Cindy, had passed away, and I blamed the Sasquatch on her death, if you remember.
Yep. I remember because he was very adamant during our conversation that that they did nothing to her.
Yeah, and that's what you told me on the show, and you gave the name, and again, Robin, you knew nothing of the Red Barn, and so I put two and two together, and I knew that there was a communication. In fact, during the show, you had told me that this Delano Sasquatch was trying to communicate with me telepathically, mind speak, whatever verbiage you want to
Yeah.
use, but he said that I was blocking his
Yeah.
communication to me for whatever the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it was important to him that you knew that he was never trying to hurt you. He was trying to protect you. I can't remember, and I'm sorry because I do a lot of readings. I talk to a lot of them, but he was trying. I
Yeah,
remember that he was trying to protect you from something, and so there was a reason everything went down the way it did. And we talked at that point about how our people misinterpret the signs from them. We have to remember that there's a major cultural difference between them and us.
for
We
sure.
take it for granted that they know everything we're talking about and vice versa. And that really is so incorrect. It really is, because the culture is completely different. They have different laws, they have different beliefs, they have different customs, and none of them match ours. And one of the things they're not allowed, they have laws, and they have their own. They don't have jails, although I did know one that they locked up in a cave, a couple of them. But they have their own laws. They're not allowed to take a human life except if it's in defense. Now, will the bad ones do it? Yes. Delano isn't bad. He comes from the pure heart. He's pure light. So no, that was not the situation that went on at all. But you needed that explanation, and so they just kind of used me as a way to get you the explanation and the information to try to give you some peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe too that certainly we have different cultures, between us and Sasquatch. But the one thing I think that we do have in common with Sasquatch, if you can agree or disagree with this, we're socialized. Bigfoot is socialized. They travel as a family. They communicate. They have babies. They travel together for the most part in a
Well, they
clan.
work on a higher consciousness. They work, and this is where their people succeed and our people fail. Okay, they work under the collective consciousness. We don't. They work under the law of Ra, which is the law of one. We don't. Now, we have a lot of beautiful people in this world, but there's a higher content of people that are just out for themselves. Okay, that does not work in the cryptid world. It doesn't mean that they all like each other or they don't. They work under collective consciousness. Proof of point is the original shift that happened on March 14th. Now you have good ones and bad ones, some that hate each other, some that are rivals, don't want to share territory, don't want to share anything. What people don't realize is the shift that occurred, they started the shift. I know how it started. I was part of it as well. So were many, many other people. It was simply not a me thing, because there's no such thing as the me thing. But they are the ones that did this. They did it not only for themselves, but to try to save us, because we are not in the mind to do what we need to do. They work as a collective consciousness. The good ones, the bad ones, the evil ones, they all came together for that shift, for the greater good. Okay, we can't even get our families to get along all the time for Christmas dinner, let alone to get it across to everybody that this is vital. We are our own destruction. We have nobody to blame. We can say it's this, and this. It is us. We are doing it. We need to work on the collective consciousness. It's not about, it's all right to disagree with somebody. It's all right to not want to be their best friend. But at the end of the day, if you don't work under the collective consciousness, you will fail. And that's why their world succeeds and ours fails. It's that simple. They came together for this energy shift and will continue to come together for this energy shift to benefit not only themselves, but us. We are the only ones dumb enough not to join the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to ask you something. I came across this about 3 weeks ago, and it's regarding my encounter. I'm not talking about my encounter here today, but I did. As you know, it's still a mystery to me as how Cindy had passed away for a long time. For the longest time, everybody, I blame it on the Sasquatch. Today, I don't believe that. Okay, much like
You've
a long
evolved
time,
a lot.
I've evolved. Thank you, but I'm open. I've always been open minded, but as you well, I had every reason to think that this was just some demon from the woods, and I knew not much about it other than what I saw in the Patterson Gimlin film when I was 8, 9. I don't even know how old I was. So the mystery to me, Robin, is why, Cindy passed. She had good health, didn't drink, didn't smoke. I was told a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. That today is still a mystery. That's always something that I'm going to investigate. Okay. Now, here's the thing, though. So yes, and you're my number one go-to, but I've had other people reach out to me that have seen the show, a person that was a psychic. Now, never heard of this psychic before, and I can take psychics I believe that mediums and psychics do exist, and I do believe there are legitimate ones. Okay, I have to substantiate that before I go on. But I was told during my encounter, person broke it down for me and said, "Look, what happened to me was this." That the Sasquatch, I was in Cadillac, Michigan, about 150 miles north of where I was in the Upper Peninsula. The Upper Peninsula, thank you, Mindfork. The Upper Peninsula, a lot of iron and ore mines, underground mines where
Oh yeah, you get a lot of stuff in those underground mines.
now yes, so they've been since shut down, okay? And so there was a Sasquatch that was traversing from the Upper Peninsula south toward where I was. And all of a sudden, though, it slipped into a portal. It slipped through a portal during its traverse from the north down to the south. Now, what happened was, and here's the other thing about the Red Barn, which really, again, baked my noodle. Again, the Sasquatch, Delano, slipped through a portal and came out on my side and in my reality, and he came through a portal from this. Again, this person told me Red Barn. And when he appeared and walked down the shoreline, saw me, and he was just as scared and shocked to see me as Cindy was to him. So when he roared back, yelled, screamed, did that crazy sonic boom, as Duke says, which knocked her off the boat, that was a defense mechanism because he was just as terrified as I was and had nothing to do with scaring us, killing Cindy, okay, as I blamed him on.
Yeah.
And then told the psychic that it was no demon, which you've told me before, but it was just which happened to slip through a time zone or a portal, if you will, and appeared where I was. So again, I tend to believe some of that because again, the red barn I've never mentioned, and this person said that was the exit from the portal from northern Michigan. So
Yeah.
what's your vibe on that right now? I mean,
Well,
that's
I think it's
me.
entirely possible. It really and truly is. And I really, I want people to understand, and I know this sounds crazy, and I'm sorry, but anybody that knows me knows I just kind of tell it like it is.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
stopped years ago trying to sugarcoat it and, worrying about if anybody was going to believe me or not, because I refuse to lie. I just flat
Yeah.
out refuse to lie about any of this. But the world that we see never existed. It's what was pre created for us by the powers that be to keep us under control. If they could keep our thought process under control, they can keep us down in that 3D dimension. They can do whatever they want, when they want, how they want, because we're going to follow them around like sheep. And that's exactly what happens. So we have to break free from that construct because it's not reality. What you're talking about, that really is the reality. And it's not easy to accept it. You're changing the paradigm for everybody, but it is the reality. The reality is the reality we knew never existed. It was a fallacy. We've been lied to, and we can't even blame the government because we just went along with it, you know? And now we have to rethink and relearn that there are all things that are possible. Doesn't mean that every load of crap somebody gives you is accurate. Okay. But and I'm not an expert. Don't
Right.
anybody ever think that I think I am, because I don't believe there are experts. But I know that when I talk, I'm talking from my heart. I'm talking about the lessons that I've been taught by the cryptids. I've never got it out of a book. I've never taken classes. I mean, I teach classes now because I'm trying to teach the truth to people. But all things are possible. There's things out there that we don't understand. And everybody's running around going, well, I can't see it. Well, you can't see air either, but you got to breathe it every day.
Yeah, I got to jump over to something really quick because this guy, welcome to the show, had gotten timed out by one of the moderators. But he's got a question. I'm gonna give him an opportunity to redeem himself. I didn't see the comment. Welcome, but I'll post one of your questions here. Robin, hi. As you're such a in close contact with Sasquatch, our earthly friends, have you got any DNA evidence like fur samples? And again, you did the project with the genome
Yeah.
study with Melba, did you not?
Absolutely. Number one, they do not have fur. Sasquatch does not have fur. They have hair because of the human DNA in them. So it is not a fur. But have I gotten any? Absolutely. Absolutely, I have. I've also had it tested and it came back Sasquatch several times.
Yeah, cool. No, that's okay. Welcome. We all have our opinions, and I don't know. I didn't read
No,
the
and
chat,
that's fine. Yeah, no, I mean,
and
if he has a
Robin's.
question or a concern, I'm more than happy to hear it. As long as it's sent to me in a positive manner. Nobody has to agree with me. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to follow me blindly at all. Questions are important. Information is power. So, and I didn't feel any disrespect from that at all. That's perfectly fine. I don't take it like that at all. I think discussions are healthy. I don't have a problem with people that disagree with my beliefs as long as it's done in a kind manner for myself and them. That's the only thing that matters to me. The respect, respect is very key with all these cryptids. And so, that's a big deal. And as long as questions are approached in a proper manner and people are kind to one another, any questions are fine and people don't have to believe what I say. So, but yeah, I actually have gotten DNA, I've gotten blood samples, and I've gotten hair samples.
Yeah, and again, I just got to test. Everybody in chat. I got some great friends in chat. I got a personal text from somebody out in chat said, "Well, welcome." Said something about where's your. And again, this is not disparaging to you, welcome at all. I'm going to ask Robin this. I missed the question, and here's the thing that I'm not a big guy on when it comes to video, film. My biggest thing, what I love to hear the vocalizations. And yes, I've seen video of things. And Robin, you sent me pictures in the past, which I've never made public. So people always have that question. I get it. Where's the
Yeah, and that's
video
fine.
evidence?
That's
Where's the
absolutely
photographic
fine.
evidence? Yeah, and I get that, and I guess I would ask the same types of questions.
And I
To
don't mind
me,
if people, I get a lot of people that contact me privately or whatever. I
yeah,
have had a lot of my photos are on Duke's show on World Bigfoot Central. I will be presenting photos as well. I got some a few weeks ago that I think are quite good. I mean, you can see everything on the faces. Um, And so I do have those. I want people to understand too, while we're talking about photos, the reason they do come out blurry is because they are higher frequency. When we switched to the digital cameras, it made it very difficult to get a clear photo because they can mess with the digital in it. And it's the high frequency that blurs it because of the frequency and the digital cameras combined. It does. It just makes it blurry. So understand it's not people making it up all the time. Not that people don't fake it. We know they do.
Yeah, there's some good stuff out there, and there's some stuff that's questionable. And I got to ask you this, and
But
well,
I
we
read
all
energy
know,
signatures. If there's no energy signature for Sasquatch or Dogman and a photo that somebody sends me that says it's a Sasquatch and a Dogman, it's not real. Energy signatures don't lie.
yeah. And here's another thing too. It's like we all know this, whether you're a researcher, a novice for the first time, or if you've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. Many times we all get those battery dumps. You have your cell phone on 100%. You walk in and you go past, and the energy that's is being put out into our world. Yeah, you lose the battery, you lose the video, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
get and I don't even like talking blob squatch because that's something at whatever. Because 9 times out of 10, as you said, could be pareidolia. But I talked to this guy and I did a story on this. In fact, it's in the book, and this I found to be quite intriguing. A guy was hunting with his buddy, and they were out 100 yards out. There was a tree line, and the tree line in front of the tree line, there was a meadow. This guy had his rifle lined up, and he had his friend who had a video camera. And they're videoing the tree line, and this guy's out looking for deer. A deer comes out of a deer emerges from the tree line, Robin, and the guy's looking through the rifle, and then when he says he appears to be a Bigfoot, also emerges from him back, a Sasquatch. Now, again, the man is looking through his rifle, and his friend had a video camera, and this was all being captured. The man looks up with his naked eye, and sees the Sasquatch pick up the deer and starts to kind of shake it around, right? Like he was hunting. Then he looked back through the rifle and looked through the telescope, and he sees this, and he says to his buddy, "Are you filming this?" The guy goes, "Yeah, I got it, I got it." So anyway, the deer now gets thrown forward out of the meadow. The Sasquatch disappears. The deer's neck was broken because they went back to look. They went here later to look at this deer to make sure it was really a deer. It was, but these guys prior were so excited about what they thought was a Sasquatch, they go back to what, Robin? The video that the guy was filming. Now, here's what really was crazy about this. They go back to the video, and no, there was no power drainage. The battery was still pretty much fully charged, and you can see the video of the tree line, the meadow. But you know what you see? And you also see the deer. But you know what you don't see? You see the deer suspended off the ground 3 or 4 feet. You see the deer being shook, but it was by itself. There was nothing. The Sasquatch was not in the frame, was not in the video. And then
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, boom. So I got to tell you, crazy story. We've heard a lot of similar stories, but for the
Happens a lot.
deer to be picked up but not the Sasquatch was really fascinating.
Yeah, and it's really funny because they can manipulate electrical equipment like nobody's business. Now, this is a true story. I went back to school, and I was in college, and I was taking anthropology, and I was on the dean's list. I was doing really good. I had to write a term paper. I'm writing this term. I never finished the class. Due to health reasons, I was 3 credits shy. It wasn't a class, but I mean the whole program for my degree in anthropology, 3 credits shy, got extremely sick and almost died. And so I just, afterwards, it took me almost a year to get better. So I didn't complete it. But I was writing this term paper, and one of the mind spoken said, "Come outside. We want to talk to you." And I said, "I can't. It's like 10:30 at night. I've got to have this turned in no later than midnight. I can't do it right now." They begged and begged. I wouldn't do it. Next thing I know, the entire power grid to my home gets shut down. Everything got shut down. My kids are freaking out, and I'm like, this, and I knew instinctively what happened. And I said, "This isn't funny. The kids are scared. Now I'm getting mad. I'm not coming out because now I'm really pissed." I said, "I want it back on. The kids need the lights on." The lights instantly, this is the true story. The lights instantly come back on. So the kids are happy. My computer won't come on. I cannot get the computer to work. I argued with them for like 20 minutes. I finally went outside. I said, what is it that is so important that you had to shut the power off in the house? You had to, now it's back on, but I can't use the computer. What is it? What do you need? Is somebody sick? Because I do healing work on them. I'm like, is somebody sick? Is somebody hurt? Let me do what you need me to do so I can get this paper done. All they wanted to do was pull energy off of me. That's it. I'm pure of heart. I have angelic energy. I have pure energy. And a lot of times that's all they want to do is pull some energy off me. So I let them do what they're going to do. And I'm like, no, I want the bloody computer back on immediately. I
Yeah.
walked in the house, computer's on. Like, so they can manipulate things. And I've had like Faye. I actually got a picture of a Faye. It was not on purpose. Okay. You know, Faye are a whole different ball game. They have a whole lot of power that you don't want angry at you. Now, I had very good encounters with the Fae. I was not trying to get a picture of them. One happened to be in the picture, but they got rid of that picture and made sure they were out of it in a heartbeat. Like it really, all of these paranormal beings can manipulate the computers and the videos. To think that they can't is really irresponsible of us, because
Yeah.
there's things out there that go on that we cannot explain. And I can't get this across to people enough. I know everybody wants an explanation.
Yeah.
I spent most of my life wanting an explanation. But you know what? It doesn't mean you're going to get one. It is not mandatory that you have the explanation. What matters is that you have the experiences, that you open your mind and you learn. Quit looking for answers that you may never get. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy what you're learning. Be part of what you're learning. Let your consciousness expand. You know, let your frequency go up, and you're going to learn it because you're going to experience it. Our bodies are simply a physical body. They are a shell. They are a housing unit for our soul and our consciousness. That's why they need food. That's why they need water. That's why they need sleep. But when you go to bed at night, your soul and your consciousness are running amok. They're all over the place. You know, the dream state and the other planes are every bit as real as the physical plane that you live in. Every bit as real. I've been in dream state and had my arm broken, for heaven's sakes. Or wake up and you've got busted lips and black and blue marks because I've been fighting a battle with the Sasquatch. I mean, not fighting them, but fighting alongside of them. And I am not the only one. I am not crazy. There are thousands of people, millions of people that have experienced the same thing. I think instead of focusing on, I want the answers on how you're doing this, we need to look at the answers of, how can I be a part of something that's bigger than myself that can change the world? How can I be a part of something that can bring togetherness to our people and help us survive when right now we're failing? Those should be the answers that you're seeking. Learn from what these Sasquatch and these intelligent beings are trying to teach us, and what the reality is, what the real reality is.
I could say that I agree. And I have to ask you this. It's just a mystery. It's always going to be a mystery for me. And we all have different experiences. We all come different bags of life. We all have different viewpoints. That's why I love doing these shows, because it makes us all think collectively. Just because you're on one side of the fence and someone else on the other side of the fence, well, that's how we learn. That's how we gain knowledge. Which
How we
leads me to
grow.
that's how we grow. Which leads me to this question: why is it that a person, maybe they're 20 years in research of cryptids? We'll just say cryptids, making a general statement, and they have good intentions, but they never see a Bigfoot, they never see a Dogman or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
And they're out there. Uh, and then someone like me who 5 years ago sees one, I'm not looking for it. I don't want to put words in your mouth. My thinking is, because I don't think these things seek us out. They seek us out. We don't. If we're seeking them out, we're not going to find them.
Exactly.
They
To
will see
begin
us.
with, everybody, wants to go out and find them, and I get that, but they're not. And I'm not saying everybody as a whole is doing it disrespectfully. The truth is, when you go out in the woods, you're in their home. If you want to get contact, have a bonfire, sit there, laugh, play music, cook some food on the bonfire, let them come to you. Nobody wants to be hunted down like a dog. Okay, they really and truly don't. And if you're sitting in your home and you've got your family with them and somebody kicks open your door and comes walking through your house unannounced without permission, there's nothing you will not do to protect your family. And they are not going to, there's nothing that they will not do to protect theirs. You're in their home. Let them come to you. Build that bond. Quit running out to LBL where things are bad and just to get that encounter. Quit running out to places to piss them off just to get an encounter, because what you're getting is a negative counter that will shut you down, get you put on a blocked list so that you're not going to get anything but bad. If you want to get to know them, learn about their way of life, learn about their cultures, learn about what they are, who they are. That's how you're going to get your encounters. And they're not going to let people know about them and learn about them that they don't think are pure of heart. It doesn't work that way. And if you they think you are and you turn out that you aren't pure of heart, they're going to shut you down so fast it'll make your head spin. You know, it's all about, like, I've spent a lifetime with these guys. And, that the other thing about it too is, and I want to bring this up because of what we were talking about a second ago, you can have a million encounters. Okay. You can have a million encounters up close. I mean, I've been standing toe to toe with the 14-footer. I've had them come and put their hand on me. I've had one walk up to me in the yard. They brought their baby to me. That doesn't make me any more important or any better than anybody that hasn't had an encounter but just wants to, because it's all part of the puzzle piece. If I had every piece of the puzzle except one, I am useless. And if somebody else has something and they have that final piece of the puzzle, they're every bit as important as I am. They're every bit entitled to the information that I am. There's nobody better than anybody else. There's no room for ego in this. When you get an ego, you are cut off, you are taxed, and they quit talking. There is nobody that's better than the other. My point is, we're all in this together. We just need to start acting like it. We really do. I'm not any better than anybody else. I'm just somebody that's willing to talk about it because I think everybody is entitled to the information. And there's power in the information and there's unity in the information. But I'm not any better than anybody else. They've
No,
decided that they like me for whatever reason and they have contact with me. And I'm blessed and I'm grateful for that.
I think, and I always say this, I'm not a preacher man by any stretch of the imagination, but for me, it's all about data, right? That you get. That's why I like talking to so many people. And I was even asked one day, they said, "Hey Rob, how come you just did a video about Sasquatch crossing the road? It was so boring," they say. I'm like, "Well, it wasn't boring to me because number one, you're came across something that's alleged, right? You and I, it's different, Robin, of course. Alleged, not supposed to exist. So yeah, that to me is important because if you get a million Sasquatch crossing the road, and guess what? You don't report them or talk on them, then it disappears. I think we need the data. Now there's encounters with Dogman or Bigfoot that might be a little more crazy running through the camp, put out your fire, or you always get the dog man followed you home with those red eyes. But they're all just equally important, no matter how far out they may be or how docile the encounter was. My encounter, you could probably write a horror film about it on that day. And there's other ones where, you could present it at a birthday party because it was kind of a nice experience because people have both
Well,
of those
yeah,
experiences, in my opinion.
but we need both of those because
Yeah,
the cosmic balance and the universal balance is good and bad. You can't have one without the other because you're never going to appreciate the good if you don't experience the bad. If you only experience good, you're not going to understand the bad to protect yourself. These are all important parts of the puzzle pieces. Do I think that they're all good? As I've said a million times,
right.
absolutely not. And the bad ones are lethal. But there's ways to protect yourself. No, learn how to do the energy work. The whole world and the whole planet is based on energy work. And people are just now starting to realize that. Everything is energy and frequency. Everything. I don't care if it's your toothbrush, a Kleenex, or a dog man. Not all dog men are bad. Are some? Absolutely. But some of our people are bad too. We've got murderers, rapists, pedophiles. All these things exist, but none of us are more important than the other. And the highest frequency that you can get is love. And when you have love in your life, you can transcend and you can learn anything. When I have love in my life, my abilities are heightened. I'm stronger. My health is better because love is the highest frequency there is. It doesn't get better than that. When you shut down, and we all have moments of depression, that's perfectly normal. We all have ups and downs. But if you notice on those ups and downs, when you're in your lows, you're not going to experience much. I mean, the Sasquatch don't want to deal with negativity ever. They deal on a positive basis. But there's just really so much that we can learn from them and from each other if we would just pull together with a pure heart, not pull it together because we're trying to get something out of it.
Absolutely. And I have to ask the standard text from Texas Front Porch question. But I kind of asked the question as well. Tex could be here today. He's got some things going out. Everybody's give a quick shout out prayer for Tex. He's got something going out with a friend of his, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Tex could use some cheering up, some prayers, positive energy, as we say. But Tex would ask the question when it comes to, let's say, a Sasquatch or a Dogman. When it comes to, he feels that a lot of people, and to an extent, I probably do, to be fair. How do we know exactly what we're seeing? Because if you believe in the paranormal and negative energy, and let's say you're a gung ho researcher and you're going out and you want to capture a Bigfoot, or you just are looking for evidence. Hey, maybe you just want to find a print or a 8 foot up unnatural tree break, let's say, and something appears and shows itself. How do we know sometimes, though, Robin, that these things aren't, number one, our own personal manifestation, or number two, something that is nefarious because it wants to, as you've heard the term trickster? How do we know that maybe it's something that wants to pull us into a different plane, one that's not all that positive?
It's
Does that even?
it's all about the energy. It's energy signatures. And when you know how to read the energy signatures, you can differentiate between real and fake, good and evil. And it's like when I teach mindset, or not mindset, but Mindspeak classes. And when I work with people on their abilities, the basics that I teach first is always energy work. And I can't stress this to enough people. It doesn't have to be from me, guys. It can be from anybody. I don't care, whoever you're comfortable with. It's not a business thing. It's a reality thing. Energy signatures don't lie. You can tell. It's like I can tell somebody's intent and what they are and who they are in a blink of an eye. It's like
Well,
if I go up to something, and one of the abilities I have, for whatever reason, I can look at something. If it's shape shifted, I see not only the shape that it shifted to, I can see what it is inside. Okay. But even if I couldn't do that, when I read the energy signature, if I'm looking at something that looks like a Sasquatch and it doesn't have Sasquatch energy, I know darn good and well it's lying, it's manipulating, and it's not a bloody Sasquatch. So the energy work is the key to everything. It's the key to getting peace in your life. It's the key to clarity. And it's the key to all this cryptid stuff and the paranormal stuff. Everything is done through energy and frequency. And the other thing about that is, too, it's like, even if you go back and you look at the alien crafts, now I've seen more alien crafts than I ever want to. Okay. They are all, and everybody says, no, that one's man made, that one's not. Okay, here's the deal. Look and see if there's rivets, if there's bolts, if there's creases. Those are man made. ET crafts are almost like one solid mold. There's no angles, there's no rivets, there's no bolts, there's no nothing. It looks like it's been poured out of a mold.
And like me, I can sum up somebody too. I alluded to it earlier about, well, first, the one big story about the kid who got thrown in prison, or with at the bar, when I could tell if a person would be a good worker. But I'm very intuitive. And do you think that, and what you know about me, I don't like to say I'm this, that, or the other, although people claim that. So if I was in the forest, well, first of all, when I had my encounter, I didn't sense anything negative and any negative energy, because what happened to me was, I was like, as if people don't know, when I was hit with that sonic boom, as Duke always says, I was just, time stood still. Everything was grainy. Everything turned to black and white. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. Then I snapped out of it. So I didn't really get any sense of anything, any negative energy. So what I'm going to ask you is this: for me, what you know about me, if I was to go out into the woods doing some of this research, would you think that do you think I'd be able to pick up on whether it's a a trickster or something positive or negative, which with what
Yeah.
you know about me?
Because you can do the energy work. You're already intuitive. That's the first step. So anybody, to begin with, anybody can do energy work. But as far as having a gift for it, that's a little bit different. Can you do it? You absolutely can do it. You just need to know how to tap into it. It's not that we can't do things. It's we have never been told how to tap into it. And that's so vital. You have to be able to do it. And the thing is like people say, oh, you're a researcher. To be clear, I'm not a researcher.
Right.
I'm an experiencer. Okay. I've
Yeah.
been learning and experiencing my whole life. A researcher is going out and you're getting, not just the data, but you're getting samples and you're getting this. I get samples, yeah, but I get them because I happen to be there when they're there. I mean, I'm not like my life isn't based on being a researcher. It's never going to be based on it. I'm an experiencer. I share my lives with them. Okay. I live my life in a paranormal world, not because I woke up one day and said, this is what I'm going to do. It found me. I never found them. I never looked for an ET in my life, never looked for a Sasquatch. Never. I mean, I've gone out with people and said, okay, we'll walk around, but I don't chase them down. I never will. And I'm an experiencer, and I'm not knocking researchers at all. So please don't anybody take it that
Oh,
way. I'm just
right.
saying for myself, somebody's honking. I don't think of myself as a researcher. I never have. I never will. When I first met Igor Borstov, and then, I did the conference there, and I came back and he wanted me to do all this research with them. And we did. It was fun, but I did it my way. I don't do things the way everybody else does. And I just experience what they allow me to. And as when I do it that way, it's done with respect because I'm letting them call the shots. It's their lives. Why shouldn't they be in charge of it? And so I let them do it their way, and I'm along for the ride. They've saved my life 6 times. They've been better friends to me than I could ever hope or dream to. And they've allowed me to see and experience things that most people never will. So, I mean, there are people that have, but I mean, I'm just saying it's not the normal.
Right.
And that's really, really important. And the other thing I want to point out too is we get people, and we have kill groups out there. We all know that we are, or that we do. I'm not saying everybody is, but there are kill groups out there. The people, the very things that you're out there, our humans kill what they don't understand. And what's happening is they're out there looking for things to kill that could be the only way to help us. They want to help save this planet. It's their planet too. And we're out there doing horrible things to our planet. They're trying to undo the horrible things we're doing to the planet. And it's a vicious circle. I mean, we're a lot of work for them. And the whole time they're trying to save our butts, we're trying to kill theirs or catch them and put them in a cage like they're a zoo animal. They're not a zoo animal, they're a human. We don't want to be in a cage. Why would they? I remember when the government went in and built all these underground bunkers in the western states so they could house them, and they were doing breeding with them with Dracos of all things, as well as other alien beings to try to create these things that they could use for the military. Like, what is that? You're taking away their basic rights. They're part human. They cannot live with our culture. They cannot live by our laws because it doesn't go along with any of theirs. They don't understand that. But they're still a type of people. And when it comes to this planet, there's nobody that knows this planet better than them. We have destroyed our planet. Without this planet, we've got nothing. We need to all work together. We need to find some commonality to be able to survive this place. We are nothing more than a soul and a consciousness. Our bodies are get tossed away when we die. Our consciousness is where the control is. Our consciousness is where the information is. And that our consciousness is what we need to survive. And in order to do that, we have to have the higher frequency. And that's what this whole shift has been about from the get-go.
Rob, that's such a great point. And I think that's where we're gonna have to end it. We've come up to well over 90 minutes. And I did want to get into some UFO sightings and experiences. We'll have to do that on another show. Just gives me an excuse to have you back before
I've got some
we
photos you can use for that. I've
yeah,
got
we
one with
will.
these
Yeah, we can do
beams
that.
coming down and portals opening and
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, I'd love to have you back I will. Before we leave, Audacious Amber, thank you for the super chat. Be kind, the super chat. Mindfork, the super chat. Mindfork will be on me next Tuesday night, I do believe.
Excellent.
Welcome to the show for your super chat and stickers. Sweet Pea, thank you. Great way to support what we do around here. I do appreciate that. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. I do appreciate that immensely. And of course, Texas Front Porch and Blondes and Booze. World Bigfoot Radio is in the house. Barton Nunnally's in the house. Inhumanoid. Subscribe to those channels as well. In fact, and tonight I got the Blondes and Booze coming on Thursday at 9. Go check them out. So, Robin, is there anywhere if people want to get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
You can find me on my website at www.paranormal-empowerment.com, or you can find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes. You're going to see another account that's Robin L. Haynes, and it's all messed up. I can't even get to it. So go to Robin Haynes, Haynes.
Very good, Robin. It's always a pleasure. You certainly have my backing and support because I know you're the real deal. And this was a great show. Thanks for everybody.
And I got your back.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody for coming on in. Subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. For Robin, I am BMR. Until next time, have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.